You don't need to step on others to get to higher places.
This is a podcast called Walk, Talk, Listen. An attempt to connect people and make this world a bit better by sharing opinions and experiences based on the belief that everyone's perspective is true, albeit partial. My name is Matisse Bloem, and I would like to welcome you to yet another episode of Walk, Talk, Listen. Good day, everybody. This is not another episode of the podcast Walk, Talk, Listen. Well, it's a short episode, a special episode, as we're taking a short break. But I would like to, share that I think 2024 has been a fantastic year for the podcast, and I'm incredibly grateful to all the amazing guests who share their stories and insights, and of course to you, the listeners, who make it all worthwhile. This week, I invite you to revisit 2024's journey and listen to at least one episode you may have missed. To help you decide, I will share with you the top 10 most listened to episodes of the year 2024, with number 10, Reconnecting with Purpose, Religion's True Meaning and Humanitarian Leadership with Abigail Nelson. Abigail explores the true meaning of religion and fostering community.
In my family, as well as in the context, it was about black and white, bridging those differences, bridging differences between rich and poor, educated and people who had not had those opportunities, and learning how to be all of the above and navigate all of that. You really should have an intentional life, not just a life that happens to you, but one that is contributing to a better world. It was really helpful to get outside the United States and experience one's skin in a different context, because you realize again how much is constructed here and how you can find your own sense of self differently.
Number 9, How the Road Built Me, with John Conrad. John reflects on mentorship and 50 years of human development work.
Hopelessness is not an option here. We can't do anything that fosters hopelessness.
Number 8, Navigating Uncertainty with Abdi. 15, Abdi shares his journey from Somalia to the US, filled with hope and resilience.
When God created us, He really didn't want all of us to be the same. That's what we need to accept, right? There's black, there's white, there's brown, there's all kind of different hairstyle, short, tall, whatever. And that's the beauty of it.
Number 7, The Art of Relating with Julia Stautovna. Julia dives into resilience and the inner development goals.
You cannot lead other people if you didn't do the inner growth work. If you avoid conflict to keep the peace, you start a war inside yourself. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. We are together, we are united, we are who we are, and we have the right to defend ourselves and to be ourselves. Thank you to everybody who made a donation, who have sent some kind of help or something to make people back in Ukraine to go through what we're doing a little bit easier.
Number 6, Justice, Humanity and Leadership with Jamie McIntosh of World Renew. He reflects on justice, dignity, and tackling poverty and injustice.
Can we open our hands and outstretch them to try and help one person out of a tough spot they're in, and maybe enlarge our humanity step by step by step? If it's coming from a place of authentic passion, I'd say pay attention to that. That's rare. There's something in there that needs releasing, that needs investing into the society. Put it out there. Get after it. Start as soon as you can to do something practical and real, and see where that journey takes you.
Number 5, together with number 4, we're part of the Walk Talk Listen special series on JLI, the Joint Learning Initiative. On 5, with Sadia Kitwai, she challenges power dynamics in religion and development research.
Knowledge partnerships in our research maybe did inadvertently recreate some of the power dynamics that really we actually wanted to challenge. JLI stands for the Joint Learning Initiative for Faith and Local Communities. Our raison d'etre is local communities, and that's what our focus should be. Spaces where people can focus on evidence and research that actually meets their needs and addresses the gaps in their communities. It's really been a process of constant inward looking but outward change. I think there's a danger that we impose our idea of what we think decolonization looks like as privileged people sitting in the US or the UK, instead of letting the conversation be led by people who have historically been marginalized by wealthier countries and wealthier organizations. This level of change where you're shifting power, I think, can be quite scary for people. But it does require courage, and it is essential.
And number 4, with Mary Matisse Bloem, and she discusses faith's role in sustainable development.
Who defines who is poor? What does it mean to be vulnerable? Maybe that's how we live in Africa, where as you grow up, you're expected to look after your siblings. The reality of life is that there is good and evil. So much as we are able to name the good, faith gives you the courage to name the evil for what it is. In the context of violence, there's actually a lot of violence that is taking place in the name of religion, because these independent men and some women, but mostly men, have started these churches which are not accountable to anybody. God's love does not violate. God's love does not discriminate. God's love does not, it does not seek to see you end up in a bad way. God's love is actually life affirming. Patriarchy is real. It's real in our context, and it shows how at an academic level you are struggling with these things.
Number 3, also from ERD, like Abigail, Marching Towards Gender Equity with Nicole Hossein. She shares her journey advocating for gender equity and inclusion.
I knew I wanted to be part of making things better for people who are not just women, but for anyone who's in situations of violence, and how to help them get out of that with dignity and self-respect.
Number 2, Blended Solutions for Universal Food Security with Glenn Denning. And Glenn explores how we can end hunger while protecting the planet.
Bold and ambitious. We're not at a time where we can be incremental. So take big steps and move forward. Be collaborative, be open to these unlikely alliances. And I would just say, finally, above all, do something.
And number 1, this special birthday episode with Milan, Noah, and Matisse Bloem, my 3 sons. It's a heartfelt reflection by them, a truly personal and inspiring highlight.
If you only have people looking at the big picture, then you're going to see a lot of people fall in the cracks.
I think it's a very important thing for someone to be able to do that, to, not just survive and live and, get through the day, which I think is important, but to also make life worth living, ultimately. And I think that we can learn a lot from stories.
You don't need to step on others to get to higher places.
Small changes will eventually make a difference. If everyone tries to use less plastic, for example, or tries to just reduce their carbon footprint, that'll have a big impact.
There's no other time I would like to live in than today. There's no such thing as the good old days.
I think if we can't be optimistic, then it's much harder to solve the issue, particularly because of what you say, right? Is there a number of the things we're talking about, environmentalism, racism, access and support to doing what you want, living how you want, are massive problems that are rooted deeply into large, systems that sort of our society has reinforced.
If there aren't people like Maurice who view the world a bit more, compared to me, a bit more pessimistically, then maybe there's also then you lack the urgency. Whereas if you only have people who view it pessimistically, then you might never get anything done, because then you get this feeling of hopelessness.
We can always sort of look like the same thing from the outside, or sound the same, or whatever it is, but that doesn't necessarily mean we are the same. We are changed by context, by how we interpret things, by so many different things.
That feeling of home comes wherever we're all together, and it doesn't really matter if that's in the US, in the Netherlands, in Indonesia, or wherever else it may be.
So thank you very much for listening, and see you next week. And, for now, happy holidays and a great 2025. Thank you for listening to Walk, Talk, Listen. Please check us out on 100mile.org or follow us on Facebook or Instagram.